Hello folks, welcome back to the Edupedia world and I am Abhinay Gupta. So today again we are continuing with the topic the Competition Act 2002 and today we will deal with the most important section of this chapter. Yes, section 3 it is. So this is one section where you will need to apply your brains, right? I'm not saying this is the most important section just because it has been asked a lot of times in your examination. No, section 11 that we just did prior to this was actually the section that has been asked the maximum number of times in your examination, right? But still, section 3 is one section where you can be caught up in the exam, right? So the sections over here, section 3 over here, you need a little bit of understanding, right? This section covers the provisions as well as certain definitions, right? So it's a combination of both. So any of those things can be asked in the examination, and this would be a lengthy question if asked, right? It may be extended to more than 4 marks, right? And if you refer to your practice manual specifically, you have a lot of questions in practice manual that have not appeared in exam yet, right? Unlike the trend that we have seen in the previous sections, it's just a copy paste of your practice manual in the previous questions, previous attempt questions, right? Whereas in this section you would find questions that are lengthy, and even the answers to that questions will be lengthy. It's not a one-liner concept. Like generally you have seen in the Competition Act when we were doing section 8, 9, 10, 11, 15, 12, right? These kind of section you had a one-liner concept, a one-liner solution to the answer, but you had to extend it because of the format of the answer, that you have to write the provision, then the content of the question, and then the conclusion. But generally it's a one-liner conclusion, but over here you have a length to write, right? So you need to pay a little more attention to this section. This is one of the most important and difficult section, I would say, comparatively difficult, right? So we'll start with section 3. It deals with the anti-competitive agreements, right? The agreements that have an adverse effect on the competition in the market, and these would be void. These are not allowed. You're not allowed to enter in any anti-competitive agreement. It is not legal, right? So what basically are anti-competitive agreement? We will deal with that. We'll give you the examples and the definitions for them, because even the definitions for those examples have been asked in the examination, right? So basically what the first thing that you need to know is that anti-competitive agreements are prohibited by the Competition Act 2002, right? So central government makes an attempt to eradicate such agreements from the market, from the economy scenario, right? So, and if somebody enters into such kind of an agreement, right, then that agreement will not be binding on any of the party. That means it is not legally enforceable. Which means to say, if there are two parties A and B who have entered into an anti-competitive agreement, right, then if any of them betrays the other, that means if any of them do not follow the provisions of the agreement, then the other party who has been betrayed will not be able to sue the party who has betrayed, because in its cognate sense the agreement itself is not legal. It is void ab initio, right? So if entered, it would be void. Then you have the concept of per se anti-competitive agreement. Now what do you mean by per se? Which means to say deemed anti-competitive agreement, right? The content of the agreement, the matter of the agreement, the format of the agreement by itself would be in the nature that would consider it to be an anti-competitive agreement. So now you need to know what are the agreements that would be considered, that would be deemed to be an anti-competitive agreement, right? So if there is an agreement, say between an enterprise or an association of enterprises, or a person or association of persons, right, who are entering into any agreement that would have an adverse effect on the competition in the market, right? And what are the kinds of agreement in which they're entering? The agreements that relate to either the production, the supply, the distribution, the storage, the acquisition, or the control of the goods or provision of service, right? So provision of service is an isolated term, and when you talk about the goods, you have the entire life cycle, starting from its production to its supply in the market, to its distribution to the retailers and the consumers, right, to its storage and acquisition or the control of the goods, right? So when you're talking about an anti-competitive agreement, this is the nature of the agreement. It has to be between an enterprise or association of enterprise or a person or association of person, right? They have to enter into an agreement. That is the first thing, right? And that agreement should have an adverse effect on the competition in the market. That is the second point. And what is the content of the agreement? What is the theme, the basic subject of the agreement? That is to either control the production, the supply, the distribution, storage, or the provision of service. If you are impacting any of these subjects, right, via an agreement, then that would be considered to be an anti-competitive agreement. That is basically anti-competitive agreement. But now when we talk about the deemed anti-competitive agreement, now what is the nature of agreement that you enter that we will consider it to be deemed anti-competitive, right? So the act, the Competition Act Section 3 goes on to explain it, right? So if there is any agreement again entered either between some enterprises or between two or more association of enterprises, or between persons or association of persons, or even between the two, between the persons and enterprises, right, among themselves, right? That is about the agreement. So there are three concepts: enterprise, person, or person enterprise. If there is an agreement between them, or if there is any practice carried on in a market, right? They may not be an agreement, but there's a general practice that is being carried on in the market. Even that would be considered to be anti-competitive, right? The effects of these agreement and practice we'll be discussing, but first we're talking about what will be considered to be anti-competitive. First is an agreement between these people, or a general practice carrying on in the market, or if there is any particular decision taken. That means people have come together to decide to act in a particular manner, and that would have an adverse effect, right? So if there is a decision taken by, again, the association of enterprise or association of persons, right, they have taken a decision, and for this decision even we consider the decision of the cartel. If there is a cartel made and then they decide to do some act, right, or decide to engage in identical or similar trade of good or provision of service, right, which now we are dealing with the points. So now we're dealing with such agreements, such practice, or such decisions taken which directly or indirectly determines the sale or purchase price of any product, right? So you cannot enter into an agreement to determine the price. You cannot decide, okay, we will keep this price, let's come together, we have decided we'll maintain this price. Whatever be the issue, whatever be the cost, we don't consider. Whatever be the impact on the market, we don't consider. For example, if there is a product, right, if we compare things of necessity in the market, for example, if we compare soap, right, then in general you have a range of soap dealing on a certain margin, right, cost plus say 20%, and this entire soap market is selling on that range. Now they decide that we are launching a soap and we will not sell it beyond this point, we'll keep it lowest in order to impact the competition in the market. So you cannot decide that, right? Or on other situation, if you can say, then there are 4 market players for a particular product in the market, right, say product X, and then the 4 players, they form a cartel and then they say we will inflate the price by 50%. That is a decision taken by that cartel. That would impact the consumers, that would hit the pocket of the consumers. So you cannot actually get into an agreement or get into a practice or make a decision which would directly or indirectly determine the purchase or the sale price of any product, right? That is the first condition. So that is the end result. Now the purchase price and the sale price being the end result, we are not just concerned with the end result. So if any of your agreement or your practice or your decision is having an impact on the process also, we would consider it to be anti-competitive. So what is the process? Basically the process is the production, the storage, the supply, the market, right, the technical development, the implementation, or the provision of service. So if your agreement or your practice or your decision is limiting these things, that okay, we will not produce beyond the certain limit, this is the limit we have decided we'll produce, or let's get into an agreement, you will not produce beyond this, I will not produce beyond that. So those kind of agreements will be termed to be an anti-competitive agreement. That will be deemed to be an anti-competitive agreement. Right? Now we consider a third situation. Now you will have to say whether or not it is an anti-competitive agreement. Right? Now there were two parties, A and B. These are, or you can consider A, B, C, D. These four together, if they form a cartel, they form a monopoly in the market for product X. Right? Now, since they are the only four market player in the entire market, what they decided is that A will take the north zone, B will take the south zone, C will take the east zone, and D will take the west zone. So they have divided their market on the basis of geographical area, that you will not interfere in my market, I will not interfere in your market. Whatever you want to do in your market, please go ahead. Whatever I want to do in my market, I'll go ahead, and none of us will interfere in each other's market. So these kind of agreements, or a decision taken by a cartel, these kind of decisions, or these kind of practices being followed, maybe without an agreement, without a decision, it's a general practice, they have somehow agreed and they have started following it. It's a practice in the market. So will this have an adverse effect on the market? Yes, it will. How? Because that individual who is managing the north zone has a monopoly in the north zone. Right? So his policies to earn more or to exploit that market would have a negative impact. Right? So we say that if you have entered into any agreement, or you have any practice prevailing, or there is a decision made, right, to share the market or to share the source of production or provision of service by way of allocation of geographical area of the market, or type of good or services, or number of customer in the market, or any other similar way, that will be considered to be per se anti-competitive agreement. Right? And now the last point. And at last it says that if there is any agreement, or there is any decision taken, or there is any practice which leads to bid rigging or collusive bidding, then we would consider it to be per se anti-competitive agreement. Right? Now most of you would be thinking, what is bid rigging and what is collusive bidding? Right? So basically, bid rigging is a kind of fraud which is attempted during the process of bidding. What happens is that they have already decided and contracted that yes, Mr. or ABC Limited will get the contract. They've already contracted between them that after the bidding, the contract will go to ABC Limited. But still, for the sake of making it logical, making it reasonable, and making it legal, they call for a bid, right? Just for the sake of appearance of several other parties in the bid. But those parties will never ever get the contract. The contract has already been decided. If these kind of fraud take place, then we call it bid rigging. You have rigged the entire bid. There is no point of bidding it into the market because the contract is already sold. Right? So that is bid rigging. Right? So you may take bribe. That is the normal practice in the market. If something is being auctioned, or if any contract is being given, for example, if government is giving any contract for construction of any bridge, right? Sometimes you have seen the case that okay, somebody has given some money under the table and the contract goes to him no matter what the other contractor has prepared for his bid. Right? So that is bid rigging. Now the other term is collusive bidding. So collusive bidding, in these type of biddings, there is a collusion. As the word already says, it's a collusive bidding. So there is a collusion of suppliers or the contractors, right, who come together with an intention to defeat the competition. Right? If there is some competitor who is bidding, right, so they come together to defeat the competition and inflate the price to an artificially high level. Right? So basically what happens is, for example, there are some parties who have come to attend a bid and who has come to actually bid in the entire process. Right? But what happens is, whenever they put a bid, there are some group of people who have already contracted that they want to raise the price of the bid. So what will they do is, if that man quotes X amount, they will quote something above X. Then the other person again inflates it, and then they inflate it further. And that will not be done by just one person. It's a collusion. So there will be people together who are doing it, right? So that the person who actually needs it, their competition, right? They would have to finally pay a higher price for that bid, which was not necessary. That is a artificially higher price, right? So these kind of biddings are called collusive bidding, where you join hands together in a contract that okay, we will bid on our side, we will bid together, we will bid to defeat the competition, or if the competition takes the contract, we'll make sure he takes it at an artificially higher price. So these kinds of competitions, these kinds of practices in the market, the practice of bid rigging and collusive bidding, these practices are not allowed. They are illegal. So if there is some practice that is going on in this way, we would consider it to be an anti-competitive agreement. Clear with that point? So now you understand what is deemed anti-competitive agreement, right? Now there are other anti-competitive agreements as well, and we can name them. The Act has provided certain definitions of other anti-competitive agreement. The name goes like tie-in agreements, exclusive supply agreement, exclusive distribution agreement, refusal to deal, resale price maintenance, and bid rigging. So we have already discussed what bid rigging is. Now we are left with the other 6. Actually, bid rigging I have just included for the definition's sake, which we have already discussed. For other anti-competitive agreement, we have just the first 5. That is tie-in agreement, exclusive supply agreement, exclusive distribution agreement, refusal to deal, and resale price maintenance. Now, most of you must be thinking, what are these, right? So, Institute has already provided, the Act has already provided definitions for them, right? So, whenever they are asked in the examination, you are requested, right, to preferably use the word of the law, to use the word of the definition that has been given. I will explain these to you in plain text, right, in a layman's term, but I would request you to use the words of the text in your examination. That means you will have to learn them and you have questions on them, right? So since we have already discussed a lot in this class, we would cover up the definitions and the understanding in the next lecture along with the questions, right? So until then, this is Abhinay Gupta signing off. Thank you. Bye-bye.